The whispers started the moment Hannah Vance stepped onto the main street of Fort McDowell, Arizona, with her 2-year-old daughter balanced on her hip, and they never really stopped. It was the spring of 1878, and the desert town had baked under an unforgiving sun that seemed to mirror the scorching judgment in every pair of eyes that fell upon the unmarried mother and her child. Hannah had arrived 3 months ago with nothing but a worn carpetbag, a few dollars sewn into the lining of her dress, and little Emma, whose dark curls and bright eyes were the only joy Hannah had left in this world. The boarding house where they rented a small room had paper-thin walls, and Hannah heard every cruel word the other tenants whispered about her. Fallen woman, shameful, no better than she ought to be. The words cut deeper than any knife, but Hannah held her head high when she walked through town, even as shopkeepers served her last, even as women pulled their skirts aside when she passed, even as mothers shielded their children's eyes as though Hannah's very presence might corrupt them. She had come to Fort McDowell because it was far from Kansas City, far from the man who had promised her everything and given her nothing but a child and a broken heart. William had been handsome and charming, the son of a wealthy merchant, and Hannah had been foolish enough to believe his promises of marriage. When she told him about the baby, he had looked at her with cold eyes and said his family would never accept a seamstress as a daughter-in-law. He had offered her money to go away, and when she refused, he simply left town. She heard later that he had married a banker's daughter in St. Louis. Hannah had stayed in Kansas City through her pregnancy, working as long as she could, saving every penny. Her own family had disowned her when they learned of her condition. Her father, a stern Presbyterian minister, had told her she was no longer his daughter. Her mother had wept but said nothing in Hannah's defense, so Hannah had done what she had to do. She had survived. And when Emma was born, perfect and beautiful and entirely innocent, Hannah had known she would do anything to give her daughter a better life. Fort McDowell had seemed like a place where she might disappear into obscurity, but she had underestimated how small a frontier town could feel, how everyone knew everyone's business, how quickly gossip spread like wildfire through dry brush. She found work as a laundress, taking in washing from the few people who would hire her, working her fingers raw scrubbing shirts and sheets and trousers while Emma played nearby with a wooden spoon and a tin cup. The work was hard and the pay was poor, but Hannah was determined. She would make a life for Emma, even if she had to do it alone, even if the whole town despised her. Every night she held her daughter close and sang her to sleep, and every morning she woke before dawn to start the work that would put food on their table. It was on a Tuesday morning in late May when Isaac Crawford first saw Hannah Vance, and something in his chest shifted like a boulder settling into place. He had ridden into Fort McDowell the night before, dusty and tired from 2 weeks on the trail, driving a herd of cattle north from Mexico for a rancher named Samuel Peterson. Isaac was 26 years old, tall and lean with sun-darkened skin and eyes the color of strong coffee. He had been working as a cowboy since he was 15, and he had seen most of the Southwest from the back of a horse. He was standing outside the general store, checking the supplies he needed to purchase, when he saw her. She was carrying a heavy basket of laundry, and a little girl was walking beside her, clutching her skirt with one small hand. The woman's face was pale with exhaustion, but she held herself straight, and there was something in the set of her shoulders that spoke of a fierce pride. The little girl stumbled on a rough patch of ground, and the woman immediately set down her basket and scooped the child into her arms, kissing her forehead and murmuring something that made the little girl smile. Isaac felt something tug at his heart. He had always wanted a family, but his life on the trail had never allowed for such things. He had courted a girl once, back in Texas, but she had married a shopkeeper who could offer her a stable home and a respectable name. Isaac had told himself he did not mind, that he preferred the freedom of the open range, but watching this woman and child, he felt the lie of it settle heavy in his stomach. He asked the store owner about her. The man's face had darkened. "That's Hannah Vance. She is a disgrace to decent folks. Got herself in the family way without a husband, and now she is raising that bastard child right here in town where everyone can see." Isaac felt anger rise in his throat. "The child looks well cared for." The store owner had snorted. "That may be, but it does not change what she is. No respectable woman would associate with her." Isaac had bought his supplies in silence, but his mind kept returning to the woman and child. He had seen enough of the world to know that life was rarely simple, that people made mistakes, that circumstances were often more complicated than they appeared. He had known good men who had made bad choices, and bad men who hid behind the veneer of respectability. He did not believe in judging a person without knowing their story. Over the next few days, Isaac found himself noticing Hannah Vance more and more. He saw her at the well, drawing water with her daughter perched on the stone rim. He saw her at the market, carefully counting her coins before purchasing a small bag of cornmeal. He saw her walking back to the boarding house at dusk, the little girl asleep on her shoulder. And he saw the way people treated her, the cold stares, the whispered comments, the way shopkeepers made her wait while they served others first. It made his blood boil. Isaac Crawford had never been one to follow the crowd, and he had never seen the sense in kicking someone when they were already down. This woman was working hard to support her child, and instead of helping her, the town was making her life harder. He made his decision on a Saturday afternoon. He had been hired by Samuel Peterson to work on his ranch outside of town, and he had just received his first week's wages. He walked into the general store and asked the owner where Hannah Vance did her laundry work. The man had looked at him suspiciously. "What do you want with her?" "I need someone to do my washing," Isaac said simply. "I have been told she takes in laundry." The store owner had given him directions to the boarding house, though he had added with a sneer that Isaac should not expect any other services from a woman like that. Isaac had walked out without responding, not trusting himself to speak. The boarding house was a weathered two-story building at the edge of town, with a sagging porch and peeling paint. Isaac knocked on the door, and a sour-faced woman answered. When he asked for Hannah Vance, the woman had pointed to a small shed behind the building. Isaac found Hannah there, surrounded by tubs of water and lines of drying laundry. The little girl was sitting on a blanket in the shade, playing with a cloth doll. Hannah looked up when Isaac approached, and he saw wariness flash across her face. "Mrs. Vance," he said, then corrected himself. "Miss Vance." "It is Miss," she said quietly, her chin lifting slightly as though daring him to comment. "What can I do for you? My name is Isaac Crawford. I work at the Peterson Ranch. I need someone to do my laundry, and I was told you take in washing." Hannah studied him for a long moment, her blue eyes searching his face. "I do," she said finally. $2 a month for washing and mending." It was more than he had expected to pay, but Isaac nodded. "That sounds fair." Something like surprise crossed her face, and then she nodded. "Bring your things by on Mondays. I will have them ready by Fridays." "Thank you," Isaac said. He tipped his hat to her and turned to leave, but then paused. "Your daughter is a pretty little thing. What is her name?" Hannah's whole face softened. "Emma. She just turned 2. "Emma," Isaac repeated, smiling at the little girl who was watching him with solemn dark eyes. "That is a fine name." He saw Hannah's throat work as she swallowed. "Thank you," she said, and her voice was rough with emotion. Isaac left, feeling as though he had taken the first step on a path he did not yet fully understand. Over the following weeks, he made it a point to bring his laundry to Hannah every Monday and collect it every Friday. He always paid exactly what she asked, and he always took a moment to speak with Emma, who gradually warmed to him and began to smile when she saw him coming. He began to learn things about Hannah. She had come from Kansas City. She loved to read but could rarely afford books. She had worked as a seamstress before Emma was born. She sang while she worked, old hymns and folk songs, her voice clear and sweet. She was 23 years old, only 3 years younger than Isaac. She was fiercely protective of Emma, and she would go without food herself to make sure her daughter was fed. Isaac also saw how the town continued to treat her. He saw women cross the street to avoid her. He saw children throw stones at her door. He saw the banker refuse to open an account for her, saying the bank did not do business with women of questionable character. Each instance of cruelty made Isaac angrier, and each instance made him admire Hannah more, because she never broke, never gave up, never stopped fighting for her daughter. One Friday evening in July, Isaac arrived to collect his laundry and found Hannah sitting on the back step of the boarding house, her face in her hands. Emma was nowhere to be seen. He approached cautiously. "Miss Vance, Hannah, are you all right?" She looked up, and he saw tears streaking her face. "Emma is inside sleeping. She has been ill with a fever and I cannot afford the doctor. He said he would not treat my daughter because I have not paid him for the last visit." Isaac felt rage burn through him. "Which doctor?" "It does not matter," Hannah said wearily. "No one in this town will help me. I am saving what I can, but it is not enough. If Emma gets worse, I do not know what I will do." Isaac made a decision in that moment that would change everything. "I will pay for the doctor." Hannah's eyes widened. "No, I cannot accept that. I cannot take charity." "It is not charity," Isaac said firmly. "Consider it a loan. You can pay me back when you are able." "I may never be able," Hannah said, her voice breaking. "Then I will consider it money well spent," Isaac said. "Let me help you, Hannah. Let me help Emma." Hannah stared at him for a long moment, and then she began to cry in earnest, great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. Isaac sat down beside her, and after a moment's hesitation, put his arm around her shoulders. She turned into his chest and wept, and he held her, feeling her pain as though it were his own. When she finally quieted, she pulled back and wiped her eyes. "Why are you being kind to me? Everyone else in this town treats me like I am dirt beneath their feet." Isaac looked at her steadily. "Because you deserve kindness, because you are a good mother, because what happened to you in the past does not define who you are now." "You do not know what happened to me," Hannah said. "Then tell me," Isaac said gently, and she did. Sitting there on the back step as the sun set and the desert cooled, Hannah told Isaac everything. About William and his false promises, about her family's rejection, about the long, hard months of pregnancy alone, about the joy and terror of Emma's birth, about the decision to come west and start over. She told him about the shame and the judgment and the grinding poverty, about the fear that she would not be able to provide for her daughter, about the nights she lay awake wondering if Emma would have been better off if Hannah had given her to an orphanage. Isaac listened to it all, and when she finished, he said, "You did the right thing. Emma belongs with you. Anyone can see how much you love her." "Love is not always enough," Hannah whispered. "Maybe not alone," Isaac said, "but you are not alone anymore." Hannah looked at him, confusion and hope warring in her eyes. "What do you mean?" Isaac took a deep breath. He had not planned to say this, not yet, but the words came anyway. "I mean that I see you, Hannah. I see you and Emma, and I see a ready-made family. I see a woman who is strong and brave and good. I see a little girl who deserves a father, and I see a place where I might finally belong." Hannah's hand flew to her mouth. "Isaac, you barely know me." "I know enough," Isaac said. "I know that I have been thinking about you every day since I first saw you. I know that I look forward to Mondays and Fridays more than any other days of the week. I know that when I see you with Emma, I feel something I have never felt before. I am not asking you to marry me tomorrow. I am just asking you to let me be part of your life, to let me help you, to give us a chance to see what we could be together." Hannah was silent for a long time. Then she said, "The whole town already despises me. If you associate with me, they will despise you too." "I do not give a damn what this town thinks," Isaac said flatly. "I care about you and Emma. That is all that matters to me." Hannah's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were different tears. "I am afraid," she whispered. "I was hurt so badly before. I do not know if I can trust anyone again." "Then do not trust me yet," Isaac said. "But let me earn your trust. Let me show you that I am a man of my word." Hannah looked at him for a long moment, and then she nodded slowly. "All right, we can try." Isaac felt his heart soar. He stood and offered her his hand. "First things first. Let me go get the doctor for Emma." He rode into town and fetched Dr. Marlowe, who protested until Isaac paid him $5 in advance. The doctor examined Emma and declared that she had a mild fever but would recover with rest and fluids. He left some medicine and instructions, and Isaac paid him another $2 for the medicine. When the doctor left, Hannah looked at Isaac with tears in her eyes. "I do not know how to thank you." "Then do not try," Isaac said. "Just let me come back tomorrow to see how Emma is doing." "All right," Hannah said softly. Isaac came back the next day and the day after that and the day after that. Emma's fever broke and she recovered quickly. Isaac brought small gifts: an orange for Emma, a book for Hannah that he had bought from a traveling peddler, a bag of peppermint sticks that made Emma's eyes light up with joy. He began to spend his evenings at the boarding house, sitting on the back step with Hannah while Emma played nearby. They talked about everything: their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Isaac told Hannah about growing up on a small farm in Texas, about how his parents had died of cholera when he was 14, about how he had taken to the trail because he had no other family and nowhere else to go. Hannah told him more about her life in Kansas City, about her love of sewing and her dream of one day owning her own dress shop. "Maybe you still could," Isaac said. "There are not many dressmakers in Fort McDowell." "No respectable woman would buy a dress from me," Hannah said bitterly. "Then you will sell to the women at the saloons and the dance halls," Isaac said. "They need dresses too, and they are not likely to judge you." Hannah looked at him in surprise. "I never thought of that." "Think about it now," Isaac encouraged. "You have talent, Hannah. I have seen the mending you do. You could make beautiful things." The idea took root in Hannah's mind, and over the following weeks she began to work on it. She made a dress for one of the women who worked at the Lucky Dollar Saloon, a beautiful green satin gown with black lace trim. The woman was delighted and paid Hannah well, and soon other women were coming to her for dresses and alterations. The money helped, but the judgment from the town's respectable citizens grew worse. Women began to say that Hannah was not just an unwed mother, but also a woman who associated with prostitutes. The minister preached a sermon about the dangers of tolerating immorality in their midst. Someone painted a crude word on the door of the boarding house. Isaac wanted to confront every person who spoke ill of Hannah, but she begged him not to. "It will only make things worse," she said. "I am used to it." "You should not have to be used to it," Isaac said angrily. "Maybe not," Hannah said. "But this is the life I have, and I am making the best of it." Isaac admired her strength, but it also broke his heart. He wanted to give her better than this. He wanted to give her a home where she was respected, where Emma could grow up without bearing the weight of her mother's past, where Hannah could hold her head high and not fear the judgment of others. He began to formulate a plan. Samuel Peterson, the rancher Isaac worked for, was getting older and had mentioned several times that he was thinking of selling part of his land. The property included a small house and a good water source, and it was far enough from town that Hannah would not have to face the daily cruelty of the townspeople. Isaac had been saving his money carefully, and he had nearly enough to make a down payment on the land. If he could buy it, he could offer Hannah and Emma a real home, a place of their own. But he knew that Hannah's pride would not allow her to simply accept such a gift. She would need to feel that she had earned it, that she was contributing equally. The solution came to him one evening in August. He and Hannah were sitting on the back step as usual, watching Emma chase fireflies in the gathering dusk. "Hannah," he said carefully, "I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about it before you answer." She looked at him, wariness in her eyes. "What is it?" "I want to buy a piece of land from Mr. Peterson. There is a house on it, small but sturdy and good grazing land for cattle. I have enough saved for a down payment, but I would need help to make it work, to build up a herd, to make it profitable." "That sounds like a good opportunity," Hannah said slowly. "But what does it have to do with me?" Isaac took a deep breath. "I want you to be my partner in it. You could use the house to set up a proper dressmaking business. Women from other towns would come to you, and you would not have to deal with the people here in Fort McDowell. You could contribute your earnings to the ranch, and we could build something together." Hannah stared at him. "Isaac, that is incredibly generous, but I cannot accept. I have no money to invest. I would be taking advantage of you." "You would not be taking advantage of me," Isaac said firmly. "You would be working hard, contributing what you can. And there is something else." He paused, gathering his courage. "I would want you and Emma to live in the house. I would build a small bunkhouse for myself. We would be partners and neighbors, and maybe, over time, we could become more." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "You want to give me and Emma a home." "I want to give us all a home," Isaac corrected. "I am tired of being alone, Hannah. I am tired of living on the trail with no roots, no family, no purpose beyond the next job. When I am with you and Emma, I feel like I have found what I have been looking for all my life. I am not asking you to marry me right now. I know you need time to trust me, to be sure. But I am asking you to take this chance with me, to let us build something together." Hannah was silent for so long that Isaac feared she would refuse. Then she said, "What would people say? They already think the worst of me. If I move out to a ranch with you, even if we are not married, they will say terrible things." "Let them say what they want," Isaac said. "We will know the truth. And when you are ready, when you trust me enough, we will get married and make it official. Until then, I will be patient." Hannah looked at Emma, who was laughing as she caught a firefly in her small hands. "She deserves better than this," Hannah whispered. "She deserves a real home, a place where she can run and play and not hear people say cruel things about her mother." "Then let me give her that," Isaac said. "Let me give you both that." Hannah turned to him, and in her eyes, Isaac saw fear and hope tangled together. "Are you sure? Once you do this, the whole town will turn against you too. You will be associated with me, with my shame." Isaac reached out and took her hand. "Hannah, there is no shame in loving your child. There is no shame in surviving, and there is no shame in letting someone help you. You are one of the strongest, bravest women I have ever met, and I am honored that you would even consider my offer." A tear rolled down Hannah's cheek. "Why me? You could have any respectable woman in town." "I do not want a respectable woman," Isaac said. "I want you. I want your strength and your courage and your beautiful heart. I want to come home to you and Emma every day. I want to build a life with you. I want everything, Hannah." Hannah let out a sob, and then, suddenly, she was in his arms, holding him tight. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Isaac, I will take a chance on you, on us." Isaac held her close, feeling as though his heart might burst from his chest. "You will not regret this," he promised. "I swear to you, Hannah, I will spend every day proving that you made the right choice." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Isaac finalized the purchase of the land from Samuel Peterson, who was pleased to sell to someone he trusted. The house needed work, and Isaac spent every spare moment repairing the roof, fixing the windows, and making sure everything was sound and safe. Hannah continued her laundry and dressmaking work, saving every penny she could. When Isaac told Samuel Peterson that Hannah and Emma would be living on the property, the older man had raised an eyebrow. "You know what people will say." "I know," Isaac said, "and I do not care." Samuel had studied him for a moment and then nodded. "She is a good woman, even if the town does not see it. You are doing the right thing, Isaac. A child needs a father, and that little girl could do a lot worse than you." Isaac appreciated the support more than he could say. Not everyone was so understanding. When word spread through Fort McDowell that Isaac Crawford was setting up Hannah Vance and her bastard child on his ranch, the gossip reached a fever pitch. Men he had worked with stopped speaking to him. Women he had tipped his hat to cross the street to avoid him. The minister made pointed remarks about the sanctity of Christian morality. Isaac ignored it all. He had meant what he said to Hannah. He did not care what anyone thought. His only concern was making sure Hannah and Emma had a good home. The day they moved to the ranch was a hot September afternoon. Isaac had borrowed a wagon from Samuel Peterson, and he helped Hannah load her meager belongings into the back. The sour-faced woman who ran the boarding house had been all too happy to see them go, though not before making several cutting remarks about how Hannah had seduced a good man into ruining his own reputation. Hannah had held her head high and said nothing, but Isaac saw her hands trembling. He wanted to say something sharp in return, but Hannah caught his eye and shook her head slightly. They left without another word. The ride out to the ranch took about an hour. Emma sat between Isaac and Hannah on the wagon seat, chattering happily about the horses and the clouds and the birds she saw. Hannah was quiet, her face pale. "Are you all right?" Isaac asked softly. "I am nervous," Hannah admitted. "What if this does not work? What if I cannot make enough money to contribute? What if you regret this?" "I will not regret it," Isaac said firmly. "And it will work, Hannah. We will make it work together." When they reached the ranch, Hannah's breath caught. The house was small but charming, with a covered porch and a view of the distant mountains. Isaac had painted the shutters blue and planted a small garden of vegetables and herbs. There was a barn for the horses and a chicken coop with half a dozen hens. "Isaac," Hannah breathed, "it is beautiful." "It is home," Isaac said simply. He helped Hannah and Emma down from the wagon and carried their belongings inside. The house had 2 bedrooms, a main room with a fireplace, and a kitchen. Isaac had furnished it simply but comfortably, buying what he could afford and building what he could not. There was a rocking chair by the fireplace, a table with 4 chairs, and beds with new mattresses and quilts. Hannah walked through the house slowly, touching everything as though she could not quite believe it was real. Emma ran from room to room, squealing with delight at having so much space to explore. "Mama, can I have this room? Can I, please?" Hannah looked at Isaac, who nodded. "That room is all yours, Emma." The little girl threw her arms around Isaac's legs. "Thank you, you are the best." Isaac felt his throat tighten. He picked Emma up and hugged her. "You are very welcome, little one." That night, after Emma was asleep in her new room, Isaac and Hannah sat on the porch and watched the stars. The desert was quiet except for the distant howl of coyotes and the chirping of crickets. I feel like I am dreaming, Hannah said softly. I keep waiting to wake up and find myself back in that boarding house. You are not dreaming, Isaac said. This is real. You are safe here, Hannah. You and Emma both. Hannah turned to him, and in the moonlight her face was luminous. I do not know how to thank you for what you have done for us. Then do not thank me, Isaac said. Just be happy, that is all I want. Hannah reached out and took his hand. I am happy. For the first time in years, I am truly happy. Isaac squeezed her hand gently. Good. That is how it should be. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, and then Hannah said, Isaac, can I ask you something? Anything? Why did you really do this? I know you said you wanted a family, but there is more to it, is there not? You could have found a woman without all my baggage, someone who could give you a fresh start. Isaac considered his answer carefully. I suppose I did it because I see in you something I have always admired. You have faced terrible hardship, and you have not let it break you. You have been knocked down, and you have gotten back up. You love your daughter more than anything in the world, and you have sacrificed everything for her. That kind of strength, that kind of love, that is rare, Hannah. That is precious. I would be a fool to let you go just because some narrow-minded people cannot see what I see. Hannah's eyes glistened with tears. I was so angry at the world for so long. I felt like I was being punished for one mistake, one moment of foolishness. But maybe it was not a mistake. Maybe Emma was meant to be born, and maybe I was meant to come here, and maybe you were meant to find us. Maybe, Isaac said softly. I think some things are meant to be. Hannah leaned her head on his shoulder, and Isaac put his arm around her. They sat like that until the moon was high in the sky, and then Isaac walked Hannah to the door and wished her good night. He went to the small bunkhouse he had built for himself, feeling more content than he had ever felt in his life. The weeks that followed fell into a comfortable rhythm. Isaac worked on building up the ranch, buying a small herd of cattle and repairing fences. Hannah set up her dressmaking business in one of the spare rooms, and word slowly spread to neighboring towns that there was a talented seamstress near Fort McDowell. Women began to travel from miles around to commission dresses from her, and her reputation grew. Emma thrived in the open air of the ranch. She followed Isaac around like a shadow, watching as he worked with the horses and fed the chickens. He taught her how to collect eggs and how to whistle for the dog he had bought, a loyal mutt named Duke. Hannah watched them together with a soft smile, seeing her daughter blossom in ways she never had in town. Isaac fell more in love with Hannah every day. He loved the way she sang while she sewed, the way she laughed at Emma's antics, the way she looked at sunset with the golden light turning her hair to honey. He loved her strength and her gentleness, her fierce protectiveness and her quiet vulnerability. He wanted to tell her how he felt, but he held back, waiting for a sign that she was ready to hear it. The sign came on a cool October evening. Isaac had just finished putting the horses away for the night when he heard Hannah call his name. He walked to the house and found her on the porch, looking nervous. Is everything all right? He asked. Everything is fine, Hannah said. I just wanted to talk to you about something. Isaac sat down beside her. What is it? Hannah took a deep breath. I have been thinking about what you said when you first asked me to come here. You said that maybe, over time, we could become more than partners. I want you to know that I am ready now. I trust you, Isaac. I trust you with my life, with Emma's life, with my heart. Isaac felt his pulse quicken. Hannah, are you saying what I think you are saying? I am saying that I have fallen in love with you, Hannah said, her voice trembling slightly. I tried not to. I told myself I was being foolish, that I was setting myself up to be hurt again, but I cannot help it. You have been so good to us, so patient and kind and generous. You have given us a home and a future, and you have never asked for anything in return. I love you, Isaac Crawford, and if you still want to marry me, I would be honored to be your wife. Isaac felt as though the world had stopped spinning. He reached out and cupped Hannah's face in his hands. "Hannah, I have loved you since the day I first saw you carrying that laundry basket with Emma at your side. You are the strongest, most beautiful, most incredible woman I have ever known, and I would be the luckiest man alive if you would marry me." Hannah's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "Then yes, yes, I will marry you." Isaac kissed her then, a gentle, tender kiss that held all the promise of the future they would build together. When they pulled apart, both were breathless and smiling. "When?" Isaac asked. "When do you want to get married?" "As soon as possible," Hannah said. "I do not want to wait any longer. I want to be your wife. I want Emma to have your name. I want us to be a real family." "Then we will get married this week," Isaac said. "We will go into town and find the justice of the peace. I do not care if the whole town talks. Let them talk. We will have each other, and that is all that matters." Hannah laughed, a sound of pure joy. "I do not care either. For the first time in my life, I truly do not care what anyone thinks." They told Emma the next morning, and the little girl was ecstatic. "Does this mean Isaac will be my papa?" she asked, her dark eyes wide with hope. "If you want him to be," Hannah said softly. Emma threw herself at Isaac, and he caught her and swung her up into the air. "I want it. I want a papa." Isaac felt tears sting his eyes. "Then that is what I will be, little one. Your papa now and always." They rode into Fort McDowell 3 days later, all dressed in their best clothes. Isaac wore a new shirt and a black vest. Hannah wore a simple but elegant blue dress she had made herself, with delicate white lace at the collar and cuffs. Emma wore a pink dress with ribbons in her hair. The justice of the peace was a gruff man named Thomas Brennan, who had a reputation for fairness. When Isaac explained what they wanted, Brennan looked at Hannah for a long moment and then nodded. "I will marry you, but I should warn you that there will be talk." "There is always talk," Hannah said calmly. "We are prepared for it." Brennan smiled slightly. "Then let us proceed." The ceremony was brief and simple, but it was perfect. Isaac slipped a gold ring onto Hannah's finger, a ring he had bought from a jeweler in the next town over. Hannah spoke her vows in a clear, strong voice, and Isaac spoke his with his heart in every word. When Brennan pronounced them man and wife, Isaac kissed his new bride while Emma clapped her hands and cheered. They emerged from the justice's office into the bright Arizona sunshine, and immediately the whispers started. People on the street stopped and stared. A group of women standing outside the general store began to talk behind their hands. A man Isaac had worked with spat on the ground and turned away. Isaac took Hannah's hand and held it high. "Let them see," he said. "Let them know that you are my wife now and that I am proud of it." Hannah squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. "I love you, Isaac Crawford." "I love you too, Hannah Crawford," Isaac said, and the name sounded perfect on his lips. They walked down the main street of Fort McDowell with their heads held high, Emma skipping between them. They stopped at the general store, and Isaac bought supplies for a celebration dinner. The store owner served them without comment, though his face was tight with disapproval. As they were leaving, they nearly collided with a woman Isaac recognized as the wife of the banker. She looked at Hannah with cold eyes. "I suppose you think you have won," she said. "You think that marrying a decent man will erase your past, but everyone knows what you are." Hannah opened her mouth to respond, but Isaac stepped forward. "What she is, madam, is my wife, and I would appreciate it if you would speak to her with the respect that deserves." The woman's face reddened. "You have ruined yourself for that woman and her bastard child." Isaac felt anger surge through him, but he kept his voice level. "That child is my daughter now. Her name is Emma Crawford. And if I ever hear you speak of my family with such disrespect again, you and I will have a serious problem. Do I make myself clear?" The woman sputtered, then turned and walked away quickly. Isaac turned to Hannah, who was staring at him with wide eyes. "Are you all right?" "You called Emma your daughter," Hannah whispered. "She is my daughter," Isaac said firmly. "I do not care who her biological father was. I am the one raising her. I am the one who loves her. That makes me her father in every way that matters." Hannah threw her arms around him and held him tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for loving us both." They rode back to the ranch in high spirits, and that evening they had a simple celebration dinner. Isaac had bought a small cake from the bakery, and they ate it with fresh cream from their cow. Emma was allowed to stay up late, and they played games and sang songs until she finally fell asleep in Isaac's arms. Isaac carried her to bed and tucked her in, kissing her forehead. "Good night, Emma," he whispered. "Good night, daughter." When he returned to the main room, Hannah was standing by the fireplace, looking nervous. "Isaac, I want to talk to you about tonight." Isaac understood immediately. "Hannah, we do not have to do anything you are not ready for. I meant what I said about being patient." Hannah shook her head. "I am ready. I want to be your wife in every way. I just wanted you to know that I have only been with one other man, and that experience was not good. I am nervous." Isaac crossed the room and took her hands. "Then we will take it slow. I will not do anything that makes you uncomfortable. This is about us, Hannah, about showing each other how much we love each other. There is no rush, no pressure. We have the rest of our lives." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "How did I get so lucky to find you?" "I am the lucky one," Isaac said softly, and then he kissed her. That night, they consummated their marriage in the bedroom that was now theirs to share. Isaac was gentle and patient, and Hannah felt her old fears and hurts slowly dissolve in the warmth of his love. Afterward, they lay tangled together under the quilts, and Hannah felt a peace she had never known. "I never thought I could feel like this," she whispered. "I never thought I deserved to feel like this." "You deserve everything good in this world," Isaac said, stroking her hair. "And I am going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know it." The months that followed were the happiest of Hannah's life. The ranch prospered as Isaac's cattle herd grew and Hannah's dressmaking business expanded. They worked hard, but they also made time for each other and for Emma. They had picnics by the creek that ran through their property. They took long rides on horseback through the desert. They sat on the porch in the evenings and talked about their dreams for the future. Emma called Isaac Papa now, and the joy in her voice every time she said it made Isaac's heart swell. He taught her to ride a gentle mare named Buttercup. He helped her learn her letters and numbers. He told her stories before bed and made her laugh with silly faces and games. Hannah watched her daughter flourish, and she felt a gratitude so profound it sometimes brought her to tears. Emma no longer heard cruel words or saw contemptuous looks. She was growing up in a home filled with love, and she was becoming a confident, happy child. The people of Fort McDowell slowly began to accept that Hannah was now a married woman and deserved the respect that entailed. Some still whispered and judged, but others began to thaw. The doctor who had refused to treat Emma now tipped his hat when he saw the family in town. The store owner began to make polite conversation when they came to buy supplies. A few of the women who had shunned Hannah began to commission dresses from her, drawn by her talent and reputation. It was not universal acceptance, but it was progress. And Isaac and Hannah did not need the town's approval. They had each other, and that was enough. In the spring of 1879, Hannah discovered she was pregnant. She told Isaac one evening after Emma had gone to bed, her voice trembling with a mixture of joy and fear. "I am going to have a baby, our baby." Isaac let out a whoop of joy and swept her into his arms, spinning her around. "Hannah, that is wonderful. We are going to have a baby. You are happy?" Hannah asked, searching his face. "Happy, I am thrilled," Isaac said. Emma will have a little brother or sister. We are growing our family, Hannah. This is everything I have ever wanted. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. I was afraid you might not want this. We already have Emma, and money is tight sometimes. We will manage, Isaac said firmly. We always do. And Hannah, this baby is not just yours. It is ours. Our child, conceived in love and marriage. This is different from before. Hannah nodded, understanding what he meant. Emma was precious to her, but there had always been a shadow of pain associated with her conception. This baby would be born into a home filled with love, with two parents who were committed to each other and to their children. Emma was delighted when they told her she was going to be a big sister. "Can I help take care of the baby?" she asked eagerly. "Of course you can," Hannah said, pulling her daughter into a hug. "You are going to be the best big sister." The pregnancy was easier than Hannah's first. She had good food, a comfortable home, and a husband who doted on her. Isaac was attentive and protective, always making sure she was not overworking herself, always ready to rub her aching feet or bring her a cool drink. As her belly grew, Hannah felt a contentment she had never imagined possible. She was surrounded by love, and she was carrying a child who would be born into a real family. The shadow of her past was still there, but it was fading, losing its power to hurt her. In November of 1879, Hannah went into labor. Isaac sent Emma to stay with Samuel Peterson and his wife, and then he stayed by Hannah's side through the long hours of labor. He held her hand, wiped her brow, and whispered encouragement. Just before dawn, Hannah gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Isaac cut the cord with shaking hands, and when the midwife placed the baby in his arms, he wept openly. "Hannah, he is perfect. He is absolutely perfect." Hannah, exhausted but radiant, smiled up at him. "What should we name him?" Isaac looked down at his son's tiny, scrunched-up face. "How about James, James Crawford?" "James," Hannah repeated softly. "I love it, James Isaac Crawford." Isaac's throat tightened. "You want to give him my name?" "Of course I do," Hannah said. "You are his father. You are Emma's father. You are the man who saved us, who gave us a home, who loved us when no one else would. Why would I not honor you?" Isaac carefully placed the baby in Hannah's arms and then kissed her forehead. "I love you so much, Hannah. Thank you for giving me everything I ever wanted." "I love you too," Hannah whispered, gazing down at their son. "Thank you for seeing me when no one else would. Thank you for seeing a ready-made family and not running away." When Emma came home the next day, she was enchanted by her baby brother. She insisted on helping with everything, from fetching clean diapers to singing lullabies. Isaac watched his family with a heart so full it felt like it might burst. Life settled into a new rhythm. The ranch continued to prosper, and Hannah's dressmaking business remained steady. Emma started attending a small school that had opened in a neighboring town, and she proved to be a bright, eager student. James grew from a tiny infant into a chubby, happy baby who smiled at everyone and everything. One evening in the summer of 1880, Isaac and Hannah were sitting on the porch, watching Emma play with James on a blanket spread on the grass. Duke, the dog, lay nearby, keeping watch over the children. "Do you ever think about what your life would have been like if you had not come to Fort McDowell?" Isaac asked. Hannah considered the question. "Sometimes. I think Emma and I would have survived somewhere, somehow. I would have kept fighting for her. But we would not have had this. We would not have had you or this home or James. We would not have been happy. I think about what my life would have been like if I had not seen you that day," Isaac said. "I would still be drifting, working one job after another, never putting down roots. I would have been alone." "We saved each other," Hannah said softly. "Yes," Isaac agreed. "We did." Hannah leaned her head on his shoulder. I never told you how much it meant to me, what you said that first day we really talked. You said you saw a ready-made family. No one had ever looked at Emma and me and seen us as anything but shameful, but you looked at us and saw something worth having. Because you were worth having, Isaac said. You are worth having, both of you, all of you. I was so broken when I came here, Hannah said. I felt like I would never be whole again. But you put me back together, piece by piece. You made me believe I deserved to be loved. You always deserved to be loved, Isaac said. I just helped you see it. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their children play as the sun set over the desert. The sky turned gold and orange and pink, painting the landscape in brilliant colors. You think we will have more children? Hannah asked. Isaac smiled. Do you want more children? I think I do, Hannah said. I never thought I would want to be pregnant again after Emma. It was so hard and so lonely, but carrying James was different. It was joyful. I would like to do it again if you want that too. I want as many children as you want to give me, Isaac said. A whole house full of them, running and laughing and filling every corner with noise and love. Hannah laughed. A houseful might be ambitious, but maybe one or two more. One or two more sounds perfect, Isaac said. Over the next few years, their family continued to grow. In 1882, Hannah gave birth to a daughter they named Sarah. In 1884, they welcomed another son whom they named Thomas. The house was indeed full of noise and laughter, and Isaac and Hannah thrived on it. Emma grew into a beautiful, intelligent young woman who helped her mother with the younger children and dreamed of becoming a teacher. James was a sturdy, adventurous boy who followed his father everywhere and wanted to be a rancher when he grew up. Sarah was sweet and gentle, with her mother's blue eyes and her father's dark hair. Thomas was the baby, spoiled and adored by his entire family. The ranch prospered. Isaac's herd grew to over 200 head of cattle, and he hired a few ranch hands to help with the work. Hannah's dressmaking business became well known throughout the territory, and she had more orders than she could fill. They built an addition onto the house to accommodate their growing family, adding 2 more bedrooms and a larger kitchen. The people of Fort McDowell had long since stopped gossiping about Hannah's past. She was now known as Mrs. Crawford, a respectable wife and mother, a talented dressmaker, and a pillar of the small community that had formed around the ranches outside of town. The women who had once shunned her now came to her for advice on everything from sewing to child rearing. The men who had once looked at her with contempt now tipped their hats and called Isaac a lucky man, but the greatest change was in Hannah herself. The haunted look in her eyes was gone, replaced by a quiet confidence and a deep, abiding joy. She no longer carried the weight of shame. She had been redeemed, not by the town's acceptance, but by the love of a good man and the family they had built together. One evening in the fall of 1886, Isaac and Hannah stood on their porch and looked out over their land. Emma was inside, helping the younger children with their lessons. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the desert. You remember when I told you I saw a ready-made family? Isaac asked. I remember, Hannah said. I thought you were crazy. I thought no man would ever want to take on me and Emma. I was not crazy, Isaac said. I was seeing clearly for the first time in my life. I saw you and Emma, and I saw my future. I saw love and purpose and a reason to stop drifting. You gave us everything, Hannah said. A home, a name, respectability. You gave Emma a father and me a partner. You gave us a life. Isaac turned to her and took both her hands in his. You gave me just as much, Hannah. You gave me a reason to build something lasting. You gave me children and love and a sense of belonging. Before you, I was just existing. You taught me how to live. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. I love you so much, Isaac Crawford. I loved you from the moment you offered to pay for Emma's doctor, but I was too afraid to admit it. I'm not afraid anymore. I know that what we have is real and strong and will last forever." "Forever," Isaac echoed, and he kissed her as the sun disappeared below the horizon. They stood there together, wrapped in each other's arms as the stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Inside the house, they could hear Emma reading to the younger children, her voice clear and confident. The sound of their children's laughter drifted out through the open windows. "We built a good life," Hannah said softly. "We built a beautiful life," Isaac corrected. "And it is far from over. We still have years ahead of us, years to watch our children grow, years to grow old together, years to love each other more with every passing day." Hannah smiled. "I look forward to every one of those years." As the years continued to pass, the Crawford family remained strong and close. Emma grew up and became a teacher in Fort McDowell, marrying a kind young lawyer who adored her. She never forgot that Isaac had chosen to be her father, and she loved him fiercely for it. On her wedding day, it was Isaac who walked her down the aisle, his eyes shining with tears of pride. James took over much of the ranch work as Isaac grew older, proving himself to be as capable and hardworking as his father. Sarah married a rancher from a neighboring property, and Thomas went to study agriculture at a university in California, planning to return and help modernize the ranch. Isaac and Hannah grew old together, their love deepening with every year that passed. They sat on their porch in the evenings, watching the sunset and holding hands, just as they had done when they were young. Hannah's hair turned silver, and lines etched themselves around her eyes, but to Isaac, she was as beautiful as the day he first saw her carrying that laundry basket. "You ever regret it?" Hannah asked one evening when they were both in their 60s. "Do you ever wish you had chosen a different path, a different woman?" Isaac looked at her in astonishment. "Regret? Hannah, loving you and choosing you and our family has been the greatest privilege of my life. I have never regretted it for a single moment, even when the town talked about us. Even when people said cruel things. Especially then," Isaac said. "Because every cruel word they spoke just proved how small-minded they were. They could not see what I saw. They could not see your strength and your beauty and your worth. Their blindness was not my problem." Hannah leaned her head on his shoulder. "You saved me, Isaac. You and our family saved me from a life of loneliness and shame." "No," Isaac said gently. "You saved yourself. You were the one who kept fighting, who kept working, who kept loving Emma even when the whole world seemed against you. I just saw what you had already built and asked if I could be part of it." "We saved each other then," Hannah said. "Yes," Isaac agreed. "We did." They sat together as the sun set, painting the Arizona sky in shades of gold and crimson. Inside the house, they could hear the sounds of their grandchildren playing, visiting for Sunday dinner. The house that had once held just Isaac, Hannah, and Emma now overflowed with love and laughter, and the next generation. Isaac thought back to that day in 1878, when he had first seen Hannah walking down the street with Emma on her hip. He had not known then what he was getting into, had not known that his simple offer of help would lead to a lifetime of love. But he had known, deep in his soul, that this woman and her child were meant to be his. "I saw a ready-made family," he murmured, more to himself than to Hannah, but Hannah heard him and she smiled. "And we saw a man worth loving, a man worth trusting, a man who kept every promise he ever made." "I will keep them until my last breath," Isaac said. "I know you will," Hannah said. "That is who you are." They sat together as the stars came out, surrounded by the life they had built, the family they had created, and the love that had sustained them through all the years. It had started with a chance encounter and a moment of kindness, but it had grown into something magnificent, something lasting, something that would echo through the generations to come. Hannah Crawford had been shunned for having a child out of wedlock. Isaac Crawford had said he saw a ready-made family. And together, they had proven that love could triumph over judgment, that family could be chosen as well as born, and that redemption was always possible for those brave enough to reach for it. Their story became legend in Fort McDowell, told and retold to children and grandchildren as an example of what true love looked like. It was a love that looked past mistakes to see the person underneath. A love that offered second chances. A love that built something beautiful out of broken pieces. And when Isaac and Hannah were both very old, sitting on that same porch where they had shared so many conversations over the decades, Hannah said, "If I could go back and change everything, erase all the pain and the shame and the hardship, I would not do it. Because all of that brought me to you, and you have been the greatest gift of my life." Isaac kissed her hand, his eyes bright with the same love that had burned there for over 40 years. "And you have been mine, Hannah. You and Emma and all our children and grandchildren. This family we built together, this life we created, it is everything I never knew I needed." "I love you, Isaac Crawford," Hannah said. "I love you, Hannah Crawford," Isaac replied, "until my last breath and beyond." They sat together as the desert night settled around them. Two souls who had found each other against all odds, who had chosen love over judgment, who had built a legacy that would last far longer than either of them. The house behind them was full of the family they had created, and the land around them was the empire they had built with their own hands. Hannah had been broken when she arrived in Fort McDowell. Isaac had been adrift, but together they had become whole. Together they had found their purpose. Together they had created a love story that would be remembered long after they were gone. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Not the judgment of strangers, not the whispers of small-minded people, not the shame that society tried to impose. What mattered was the love they shared, the family they raised, and the life they built together, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one act of courage at a time. It was a story of redemption and second chances. It was a story of a man who looked past society's judgment to see a woman's true worth. It was a story of a woman who found the courage to trust again, to love again, to hope again. It was a story of a child who gained a father and siblings who gained each other. Most of all, it was a story of love in its truest, purest form. The kind of love that transforms lives. The kind of love that builds legacies. The kind of love that proves time and time again that when two people commit to each other and to a shared future, there is nothing they cannot overcome. Hannah and Isaac Crawford lived long, happy lives surrounded by their children, grandchildren, and eventually great-grandchildren. Their ranch remained in the family for generations, a testament to what they had built together. And every member of that family knew the story of how it all began, with a cowboy who saw a ready-made family and a woman who found the courage to accept his love. It was a story worth telling, worth remembering, worth cherishing. It was their story, and it was beautiful.